Welcome to episode 89 of the LOTD Pod, the Left of the Dial podcast. I'm Flick, along with my partner Richard. That's his song, The Time Worm, bringing us in. How you doing, Richard?
I'm good. How you doing on this whatever day it is?
Wednesday is the day that we're recording it, and not too bad. How are you doing?
You know, I'm hanging out and going to talk music with you for however long, and that feels pretty good.
Indeed, it does. And weather pretty good lately. And there are things to feel pretty good about. This summer is drastically different than the summer we went through a year ago.
It's like the summer of love over here. It's everyone's shaking hands and hugging because they've been vaccinated.
Yeah, hugs are back. Hugs are a thing again, and that's nice. Yeah, I mean, I think we're still shaking off some of that pandemic lifestyle. Some of us, but yeah, like I said, it's drastically different than what we went through a summer ago. And with that in mind, we will be talking summer music this week.
That's right, and this was a lot of fun to put together. And when we were initially talking about this, I was like, oh well, we obviously should do summer jams of the 1940s, right?
The 1940s.
Yeah, put some limitations.
Glenn Miller.
In there. Yeah, some Glenn Miller, man. I love Glenn Miller. But I chose to do summer jams of the 1960s. So, and Sean, I haven't had a chance to look at your list yet too deeply or listen through it, but I'm going to. And there's lots and lots of good stuff on here that I just love. Before we get too far, we've talked about how cool our lists are, but how can our listeners find these lists?
They can find them by going to Spotify, Spotify.com, or maybe you already have a Spotify account set up. If you don't, you can do that for free. I'm not going to go through the whole Spotify sales pitch. You can have a free account and enjoy Spotify. You do get commercials, but anyway. Yeah, you can go to Spotify. You can search LOTD Pod, which will bring up our podcast. If you don't already have a subscription to that, please subscribe to it. And you can find our playlists on our LOTD Pod profile page. So you want to look up cool. The profiles.
And what's your playlist called?
My playlist. Okay, so you went a specific real tight theme. With the 60s. Mine is not so much a tight theme. It's, the theme is just summer for me. My playlist is called Celebrated Summer.
Okay.
I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag.
Oh, no, please don't. Yeah. And then
as to if a certain song is included on it.
Oh,
you can probably guess.
I am intrigued. I'm not going to guess because I'm that kind of guy. I don't try and guess the killer and the murder mystery. I just let it happen,
Even if the title of the murder mystery is the doctor is the killer.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that's just the double blind. My playlist is called Diamond Day, LOTD Bod, summer in the 60s. So, I think a lot of people related to your point about we're some of us are kind of out of the pandemic, but still one foot in it. And I think one of the things a lot of people have been dealing with is kind of a stagnation in their routines, and that extends to their listening routine. So definitely check these out if you want some fresh jams on your stereo.
Yeah. So, I guess both of us have kind of maybe hinted at part of what's on our list. Do you want to do the honors and go first with yours?
I would, yes, thank you. Um, I think I have a great appreciation for all the nice things in everyday life, and one of the songs that encapsulates that in a just really haunting, beautiful kind of creepy British way is Diamond Day by Vashti Bunyan from her album Just Another Diamond Day. And I wanted to put that first just to kind of set the tone. You know, I as much as I like Street Fighting Man and I Am the Walrus, I wanted to kind of set that tone of appreciating what we got. And also wanted to sneak that in there because the album, I think, technically came out in 1970, and you could kind of, is a decade inclusive, exclusive? Does it start on 1971? But I'm the co-host, so I'm just going to bend the rule a little bit.
I mean, really, the only rule is that they're summer tunes. So, I mean, you're the one imposing the rules, so you can break them. I would say.
Well, maybe not break them, but yeah, here you have it. Vashti Bunyan, Diamond Day, and kind of I'm gonna say kind of a 3-song set, if I may proceed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Diamond Day. Vashti Bunyan was really interesting. I'd say kind of contemporary of like Incredible String Band. I don't know biographically if that's true, but just in terms of that kind of brand of cool, kind of folky whimsy with an occasional flute thrown in there. And then She Says Good Morning is a song by the Pretty Things. From what I can tell is like their only kind of front to back, really great album. SF Sorrow, another great album of 1967.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah,
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, they have other, they have good stuff scattered here and there, and I respect them a lot. But yeah, SF Sorrow is like the true things album.
And I think they might even get, you could debate whether or not they're kind of like part of the like source of Spinal Tap. They're a band that went through a lot of changes from being like a tight little British R&B group to being, in this stage, writing really interesting music at the same time as like Sgt. Pepper's and all that.
Yeah.
And then later kind of becoming kind of like a goofy metal band.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they still had some good stuff here and there after that. But SF Sorrow also interesting in that it's a rock opera that came before Tommy too. So it's also no because of that.
Right. And I've totally talked this album to death over the last 20 years since Kirk at Record Collector turned me onto it. And I think that as a rock opera, it's a real fine line. So I think for me, you can be like too on the nose about it, and then you can be too vague about it too, where you're just kind of like faking your way through the rock opera-ness of an album. But I think this one is just that perfect. I think the only album that's ever been like right in that perfect middle point where the album isn't bloated, the songs are really cool, and the songs don't suffer in order to like advance some sort of like air quote plot.
Mm-hmm.
So just really, really great psychedelic album, well written, well played. And then from there, continuing to kind of set the mood is Time of the Season by the Zombies, which I think you and I in our college radio days would have probably gotten into trouble with the higher ups for playing on the radio, because you can probably hear it on FM radio right now, but there's a reason for that. It's just a really good song. And the Zombies, another great band. So that's the opening set. of what it feels like to to be in California on a breezy day, looking at a palm tree.
Yeah, and Odyssey and Oracle, and if you, yeah, if you, I mean, to kind of fill everybody in on what you're talking about from our college radio days, anything, any playing any band that you could hear on a commercial radio station was like something that we would get. We would get a talking to or some kind of note about, but it was something that I continued to do. Like I wouldn't play the same songs that were on the other stations, but just playing a certain band, would get you some trouble for that. But Odyssey and Oracle though is
front to back, just great.
Yeah, great, and like really fits summer, pretty well. Like this will be our year's, I guess, really like a New Year's Day song, perhaps. But Beechwood Park is another song that I think is a really great summer song, and Hung Up on a Dream is a great summer song. Like just a lot of great songs that go with the season on Odyssey and Oracle.
Yeah, right on, man. I'm glad you're on board.
Totally on board. Yeah. Okay, so to kick off mine, not every song is going to have summer in the title or talk about summer, although you might get a different impression from my first two songs because they do kind of hit it on the head, which is good. I want to set the tone to start off with, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, don't disappoint our listeners, okay?
Yeah. I just want to give you an idea, though. Name of my playlist is Celebrated Summer. I think you know where I'm going with that.
Oh, yeah.
For opening track is Celebrated Summer by Husker Du from New Day Rising. Just one of those songs that pretty much every summer playlist I think that I make has to have this song. So there it is. It's a great place to start. Also a great place to start, but in this case it's the number 2 hitter in my lineup is This Summer, which is by Superchunk.
Oh,
and
yeah, right
backed with their cover of Bananarama's Cruel Summer. So that's a little bonus track. That's not on my list, but that's a little bonus track if you want to go dig that one up.
Yeah, I think I think you could probably do this entire show about really cool summer jams just by Superchunk.
That's true. Yeah, I was going to talk about that too, because on my master list, you could say, of summer songs, there's a lot of Superchunk songs. Are a lot of Superchunk songs. Honeybee's a great one. Does Your Hometown Care is a great one. Like there's just so many.
I would suggest like their cover of 100,000 Fireflies from their B-sides collection. And what's that jam on Indoor Living about Cheetos in 100 proof, martinis on the roof?
I'm not.
Well, maybe the chat knows.
That's like on the tip of my tongue, but I don't have it.
And anyway, I think Indoor Living, just front to back, that album, yeah, any day.
Yeah, Superchunk. Just that kind of guitar, loud guitar pop, power pop stuff. It's great in the summertime. It's great all the time, but it's hits maybe a little bit harder in the summer.
Great. What else you got?
Oh well, I'm gonna do my next two together. So I'm just gonna go first two, then you can proceed, and then I'll go to my next two after that.
Yeah, I have my next two are. I didn't really plan it this way, but it makes a lot of sense to me and to the chat room apparently that we have. She Comes in Colors by Love from their album Da Capo, followed by Take It As It Comes by The Doors from their self-titled album. Love is such an interesting band, and uh, I don't have my head entirely around them, and other than um, kind of their iconic albums, but I really like them. I like the instrumentation on their albums is really really cool. Uh, is it Arthur Lee?
Yeah.
The lead singer has this really interesting voice, kind of almost like operatic in a way. It's not conventional, and the band itself, I guess, was kind of a mess. Like they were like physically incapable of touring because it was not like that together of a band. But they put out some great records. So, "She Comes in Colors" is definitely one of my favorite tunes. "Forever Changes" is a flawless record. Another 1967 record. Da Capo is also really pretty cool. And then I'm always going to be a defender of the Doors as a band. They're a really weird band, and I think they're one of those groups that suffers a lot from kind of the outsizeness of the mythology of the band, and probably from some of the fans too. Um, but I think if you catch them at the right time in their later albums, and definitely for the first two records, The Doors and Strange Days, um, they're like a unconventionally arranged, like cool little pop group, and the Jim Morrison doesn't know that he's like a shaman or poet or something. Whatever, he ends up kind of being convinced or convincing himself that he is. That doesn't always sit that well with me, but and so Take It As It Comes is kind of, I don't know if that's a blues standard. I was trying to look at Wikipedia, but Wikipedia wasn't telling me the right thing. But yeah, just like a throwaway lyric that shows off what a cool band they would have been at if you would have seen them at like the Whiskey.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you had this in mind when you did this, but do you know the connection between the Doors and Love?
I don't. I'd love to learn more.
Okay. So Love was on Elektra. They had a deal with Elektra, and then I don't know what the label was that they felt like they were going to get a better deal from a label, or maybe other labels were competing for them, but they were on Elektra. And they wanted to get out of their deal with Elektra, and the way that they did it was suggesting that they sign the Doors, so that the Doors were basically taking their place. And so it ended up being a horrible deal for
that
them.
Old trick, right?
Yeah, it ended up being a really bad move for them. Because they should have just stayed on Elektra, but the Doors took their place on Elektra, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, and the Doors, you can hear them. What's the local grocery chain in Des Moines right now?
Hy-Vee.
Yeah, so like Hy-Vee and the ice cream aisle. Probably like a Doors tune playing right now. And yeah, if Love would have been like a really together bunch of guys, and yeah, maybe not shot themselves in the foot, it could easily be a love tune.
Yeah.
That you could hear while you're like pumping gas or something. They were.
I probably should have said. I probably should have said Fairway, really, but Hy-Vee was the first one that came to mind.
My regional grocery podcast is available at
Let's talk produce.
Yes, let's talk produce. Yes, please.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I really do like Love, though, and yeah, really good summer. The thing about that is, if I were going to stay with a tight list, one thing or tight theme, within the theme of summer songs, I thought about going the route of just doing like Southern California rock because I think that really works well
Oh
for
yeah, wow.
summer songs. And so yeah, you have some of that on yours here. But
No 12-string Rickenbackers that I'm aware of, but
right, yeah,
you could
that
easily
would
go that route. Yeah.
need to be there. That would need to be there. But yeah, excellent selections.
Thank you, Flick.
You bet.
What you got?
Okay, well, what I got, bring that back up. Okay, so my next two go together pretty well. It's in the first track is "In a Big City" by Titus Andronicus from Local Business. Titus Andronicus, led by Patrick Stickles, really had well, I guess you could say they're still on a good run. Their last couple of records I haven't loved as much as the ones that preceded that, but right around 2010, they were just golden. And In a Big City is one of my favorite tracks from that period, and probably my favorite track from Local Business, and really good. I think it's maybe it's that Love and Spoonful thing, Summer in the City, that just songs about being in the big city.
Yeah.
Kind of give me that summer, that have that summer vibe to them. I don't know what it is exactly, but anyway, the idea of the song is Stickles went from New Jersey to Brooklyn, and talks about the difference from being on one side to the other, and then I follow that up with "In the City" by the Jam. So my big city tracks. Yeah,
that
I
is
don't
great.
know. Yeah, to me, they are very much summer tunes.
I love it. And if I had to suggest the third one, it would be a Go Betweens B-side, or archival track, probably less than a B-side, more obscure, which I think is one of the first Grant McLennan songs, which is called Big Sleeping City. I'm not sure it's even on Spotify, but when we get around to that theme, I'll play it for you.
Okay.
And I also want to say that I think it's really cool that the lead singer of Titus Andronicus, I don't know a lot about the band. I checked out the one album that you sent my way that I wasn't that into, but I like that he's in this very loud kind of angsty band, and then everyone calls him Stickles, which I think could be like the third sidekick in Waffles and Mochi or something.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, it's Stickles. He's going to tell us about art history.
It is one of those good names. If you're coming up with a fictional character, I think it sounds like a pretty awesome name for a fictional character.
Oh, Stickles stole the van, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a whole other sidetrack. Yeah. Cool. Great picks. And yeah, definitely got to get around to that Paul Weller and the Jam show one of these days.
Yeah, well, yeah, we were going to do a birthday show, but the problem was his birthday is around the same time as one Robert Zimmerman. So it was kind of tough to do that. We'll have to figure out, I guess we can do it anytime. It doesn't really have to be for his birthday.
It is kind of special though. Yeah. I want to present to you another weird set of tunes. How do you feel about the Monkees, Sean?
I like them, especially because you have the Wrecking Crew.
Oh yeah,
as the studio musicians, and so yeah, always love the Wrecking Crew, and good songwriting. Yeah, I like the Monkees. I'm not the I when I watch the TV show, I enjoy it for a little bit, but it only goes so far. I don't get super into the show or anything like that. But I like the Monkees.
Yeah, yeah, you make a lot of great points as always, and yeah, I love the Diamond, also known as Neil Diamond, but in our house he's called the Diamond. Um, and yeah, the Wrecking Crew. Wow, Carol Kay and her sidekicks just tore it up on every track that they played on. And so when you combine these things with, uh, some fictional TV characters on a record, you end up with "I'm Not Your Stepping Stone," which I always had Monkees records around and never really put them on that often. But I do remember a period of time when my sister and I were kids that we knew episodes of the Monkees TV show so well that they would come on TV. I think they were on Nickelodeon at the time, and they would be on TV, and we'd turn the sound off, and we'd like act out the entire episode. We knew all the dialogue, and I feel like later when I started writing songs and playing music, like all that stuff is stuck in there somewhere. Comes out at weird times, but. So yeah, my Monkees history is very 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 complicated, uh, but like I said, I haven't really put them on for a while, and then I put them on researching this show on really really good expensive headphones, and wow, it rocks. I love this song so much, and yeah, maybe they weren't at all an authentic band, but that was kind of a new thing at the time. The Beatles really, were one of the first bands that wrote all their own songs and recorded them, and that's a whole other topic. Um, but yeah, the studio musicianship and the writing and the Davy Jones vocal on "I'm Not Your Stepping Stone" is just awesome. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and I mean the thing about the Monkees is, sure, they didn't write their own. Well, they did later. They did write their own songs.
Right. That's a whole other show that could go along with the Doors albums without Jim Morrison.
Yeah, but they didn't really write their big hits. I don't know if any of them wrote any of their big hits. But they are well done songs. So I mean, just because they didn't originate them, doesn't mean that they're not good songs.
Yeah, totally. So I had to put that on, and then to kind of counterbalance my credibility, cred as they call it over here, I have I wouldn't say very obscure, but as far as I know, I'm the only one that really likes to jam on this Pink Floyd song, which is from their soundtrack album to the B movie called More, and it's called the Nile Song, and it rocks. It's fuzzy and it's like 4 chords, and I guess there's part of me that just wants Pink Floyd to sound like this all the time, but they don't.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with this song, but as far as what Pink Floyd sounds like, one thing I got a new speaker.
Oh yeah, tell me
yesterday, and
wait, is this our endorsement spot again?
Well, I won't mention any. I don't know. Maybe I will mention a brand, but
yeah. Maybe
I'm not. It's not really my plan to do any kind of endorsement here, but basically, it's a really good speaker, and one of the ways that I broke it in was to play some Pink Floyd because I knew that would be kind of a good test for it. So like a lot of for me, like Fearless is my favorite Pink Floyd song. So that had to be in the mix, but then it was a lot of Dark Side of the Moon stuff because I knew that would be a good way to break in the speaker.
Yeah, if you read the manual They say to play Pink Floyd on it to like break it in.
That's right. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, Pink Floyd goes a lot of different ways. Some of it's kind of like inaccessible. Some of it's maybe a little bit bluesy, but there are parts of this record, the More record, that are weird and fuzzy, and this is pre Pink Floyd when there's, or I'm sorry, pre Dark Side when they're still, I wouldn't say that they're obscure, but they're not well known, and they're definitely not known in America. And yeah, I think that this is an album that they got roped into doing somehow, and there wasn't a lot of pressure on them, and maybe it wasn't even going to come out, but the songs on this record are sometimes really bad, but sometimes just like the Nile song, really, really cool. The kind of song you write with your buddies when you're not expecting to do anything with it other than write a cool tune that you enjoy playing.
Yeah. So that is that the end of your set?
I think I'd go one more and include
okay.
the album version of China Cat Sunflower by the Grateful Dead, from Oxymoxoa, their second record, which clocks in at a cool 3 minutes and 42 on the album. I know that's kind of a sticking point with you with the
but
Grateful
if
Dead.
you see them do it live, it's 53:42.
Yeah, which is great. So that's a really fun one. I've been listening to a lot of Grateful Dead. My mom died last Monday from complications post COVID, and she loved music. She loved the Grateful Dead. So definitely been jamming on that music a lot. And we could definitely talk about that band for a long time, about the complexity of the lyrics and how interesting they were as a live band. But yeah, of course they can be totally irritating sometimes. You don't need a 25-minute version of of whatever all the time. But I like it when they don't really have that reputation yet, on some of their earlier records, and then later they know that an album can only be like 23 minutes per side. So I think there's a really great appreciation of the band that people don't get around to because they only know about live stuff. And like we were talking about with the Doors, I think they're another band that can be, people can be kind of dissuaded from giving a chance because like some of the fans are annoying, I
Sure.
guess.
Yeah.
The
Well,
polite way to put it.
yeah. I mean, there's always, I don't know. I think just about any band is going to have those things. Like even the Beatles, as far as fans go, a lot of people probably have that association of like the teenage girls screaming so loud that they can't hear the music anywhere. So what was really the point of performing live? Like, yeah, there are always those associations with any band that can be the things that put you off. But yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a cool little. I think looking just at those couple songs, bands that you kind of think that doing really interesting things, and totally jams that you put on really loud on your new speaker and then go sit on the sun porch.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with the Grateful Dead, as we've talked about on numerous occasions, I'm probably not going to go for the live version of any of their songs, but there are some Grateful Dead songs I do like quite a bit.
Thank you. Yeah. So kind of an interesting mini set there, and then what do you have up next, Sean?
Okay, so up next, I guess this is maybe the I don't know. This playlist is already pretty loud. Loud guitars.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Loud guitar is kind of a thing for me. I
Yeah,
don't
man.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of subtle. I don't know if you picked up on it, but
I did. Chat room says, of course.
yeah. So yeah, keeping the volume high. Romance from Wild Flag. Wild Flag was a supergroup that I don't know. They did one record. I guess the door is probably closed on it, but I would certainly be happy to see another Wild Flag record at some point. But Carrie Brownstein of Slater-Kinney, Mary Timony of why am I blanking on her band before this? But also the Mary Timony band and X-Hex post Wild Flag. And Janet Weiss on drums, and great combination. I was almost somewhat disappointed when Slater-Kinney got back together because I kind of wanted another Wild Flag record. Wouldn't have happened anyway, I suppose, but someday it would be nice to have another Wild Flag record because this one was great.
Yeah. I remember checking it out when it came out. And yeah, I've liked Slater-Kinney for a while. I'm not sure I'm really into them anymore, but definitely, as like we talked about on the Guided by Voices show last week, that period of time when you're just you've just got your foot in the door with indie music and you work at some crap job and save up your pennies to buy, the next, Guided by Voices record. And I was the same way with Slater-Kinney for a long time, like all hands on the bad one, and then kind of working my way backwards. And yeah, it's fun to hear this tune. I should give this album another chance. I think it's really good.
Oh yeah, this was, I think, tied for my favorite album of the year that this came out with the Michael Cronin debut, the self-titled Michael Cronin album. 1 and 2 are tied. Yeah, really great album. Would like another one someday. And followed that up with got to have some Dinosaur Jr. on a summer list, I think, and a song that and an album I think that especially hits hard in the summer. I think because the summer is when I bought this album originally, so I have a lot of summer associations with it. But I also think it just sounds really good in the summer. The album is Without a Sound. The song is I Don't Think So. More loud guitars. Guitars don't really get any louder than Jay Mascis. I mean, we started with Bob Mould and Husker Du. It's just loud. Just turn this playlist up to 11.
Yeah, man, I love it. Yeah, good stuff. I put on Bug while my wife was out of town, and that was fun to listen to that again. It had been a while. Well, let's see. Things kind of depart a little bit with my next couple songs, but one guy that I go to a lot, and especially lately, now that I've discovered his reggae album, is Serge Gainsbourg. And we've got some early Serge for you with Le Claqueur des Doigts, which, if my horrible French serves me well, kind of sort of translates to like the people that snap their fingers. And the cool lyric is like, snap your fingers along to the jukebox. So nice little innocuous pop tune from Serge, where he's not trying to sexy talk anybody, as far as I know. And which is, you got to kind of pick your your Serge album if you don't know your dinner guests that well, and they happen to speak French. And then and I'm pretty sure these guys were friends at least at some point in their life. But followed that up with "From a Buick 6" by Bob Dylan from Highway 61. Um, just a nice, cool guitar romp from Zimmy and the band.
Yeah, and that's another album that I think there are numerous songs you could pull. You could probably pull any song off Highway 61
Oh yeah.
as far as a summer song, and really Blonde on Blonde too. I think, although Blonde on Blonde is maybe more multi-seasonal, and Highway 61 is just really good in the summer. For one thing, I think it's one of those really good. Driving along in the car sort of albums.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
And you're probably not going to do more driving all year than you do in the summertime.
That's what they say.
All right. So my next two, this is the California thing. You got to have the Go-Go's on a summer playlist. I think it's no getting around it for me. And I could have gone a number of ways. Thought about "Can't Stop the World," but I've already talked about that at another time on our show. So I just went, I went big. I went with "Our Lips Are Sealed," "Beauty and the Beat." If you know the Go-Go's at all, you know this song, and it's great. And then followed up that with a band that I think goes really well with the Go-Go's, but from a different decade, from the '90s. Sleeper, a British band from the '90s, and the album it's from is called "The It Girl." The song is statuesque, just kind of the same kind of feel. Just great pop, great catchy pop songs.
Yeah,
so the Go-Go's and
good stuff.
Yeah, Go-Go's and Sleeper.
Yeah, I think I was getting hectored by my email about. I think the Go-Go's are on tour in June. So if you like that album and that song, and you want to go see them live, you could do that. What's next over here? Okay, yeah. You know how we have a show and then I have to go and like convince myself to buy an album on eBay all the time?
Yeah.
Remember from the Stevie Wonder episode a little while back and like 14 other episodes. One of the albums I've always wanted to have on vinyl was this album Pussycats by Harry Nilsson and John Lennon. Do you know this record?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it rocks. It's so weird. As far as I know, it's the only like front to back, like really, really great Harry Nilsson record. And Loop De Loop is just a nonsense, fun, weird song. It has a children's choir. It has fuzzy electric guitars. It's awesome. And if you haven't checked, if you're a big fan of really cool, weird 60s music, Harry Nilsson, totally your guy. You just don't know it yet. And the kind of like brief episode in John Lennon's life where he and Harry Nilsson were like best buddies out to just like drink every drink in Los Angeles, yielded this record, and it's great. It has like really weird, tender, interesting ballads on it, and then it just has like nonsense, like Harry and John are drinking in the studio and they wrote Loop De Loop. So gotta check it out. If if you haven't already. And then tangentially to some of the tunes on your list, the Walkmen recorded a track by track reproduction of Pussycats at one point, which I haven't listened to for a while, but definitely kind of get some sort of insight into where they're coming from. So yeah, Loop de Loop, got to check it out. And then more bands and tunes you haven't heard of on this list. Martha, My Dear by the Beatles.
What? Who?
Yeah, a little known Liverpool group. Martha, My Dear is really fun. I love this tune. I love the kind of music hall piano going into like that really kind of bouncy guitar riff. White Album, Me and the White Album, All Day, Any Day. For me, I think the Beatles' finest hour.
Yeah, for me, it's Rubber Soul and Revolver. But yeah, I think White Album's up there. When you talk about the Beatles' finest hour, there are so many that
it's overwhelming. It's hard to, like when you get hit over the head by like 400 great pop tunes. It's like really hard to pick out which ones are your favorites because they're all really good.
Yeah, and it's just it's not even hyperbole to say that the Beatles' worst hour is probably the finest hour for most bands.
Yeah, man.
Or a lot of bands anyway. And I'm not familiar with the Walkman track by track redo of Pussycats, but I'll have to try and track that down.
Yeah, man, it's so good, and it's a great. I think they're acknowledging some quotation and trying to, I don't know, let people know about it, and I think that's a really interesting statement to make.
Yeah, I don't know of many of those sorts of exercises. The one that always comes to mind for me is when Camper Van Beethoven did a track-by-track redo of Tusk, which is considerable because
really that happened.
Oh yeah, and some really great moments on it too. Not as good as the original by any means, but there are some pretty good things. Like the Camper Van Beethoven version of Over and Over, I think, is great. But yeah, the funny thing, this is definitely tangential, but the funny thing about the Camper Van Beethoven version of Tusk is the really weird Lindsey Buckingham moments on Tusk are like the weakest version or the weakest parts of the Camper Van Beethoven version. So like when Lindsey Buckingham is at his weirdest, Camper Van Beethoven can't do that justice. But they might do something really interesting with like a Christine McVie song or something, that's what's kind of weird about it.
Huh. Well, I'm intrigued. I'm gonna have to check that out somehow.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be that hard to track down, but yeah, it's something I've had on CD forever. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Tusk, so it's a pretty cool thing. Fan of Tusk and fan of Camper Van Beethoven. But going back to the Walkmen, so they are next on my list. The what turned out to be the last Walkmen album was probably my favorite as an album.
Whoa! Wow.
Yeah, I know that might seem like a hot take. But yeah, Heaven by the Walkmen, which was released in 2012, I felt like was an end to end great album, and you talk about back to back or back to front great albums. I think the Walkmen had a lot of great songs, but maybe not what I would call like a great, end to end great album until this.
Whoa, I'm gonna 100% disagree with you, but yeah, please
Yeah.
continue.
Okay. And well, I kind of felt like that might be a point of contention.
Yeah, yeah.
At any rate, though, I think Heaven was a really great album. And really great in the summer. And the song that I went with off of that is "The Love You Love." And I remember, I spent a lot of time in New York around the summer that this album came out, and New York being a trip to New York being what it is, like I'm walking like 12 miles a day, literally, and have a lot of time to listen to music while I'm doing that. And so just really bonded with this album and a lot of stuff.
Walking around New York City and listening to the Walkman, that sounds, on a summer day, that sounds magical.
Yeah, it was, except for the fact that every single day was pushing 100 degrees. So
It's New York, man.
it's true. I have never been to New York when it's been less than 95 for a high. So that's
Yeah, the Walkmen are, one of, I think probably like the last band that I just accidentally saw that just hit me over the head with like a frying pan, I remember them more kind of sort of co-headlining a show in Pioneer Courthouse Square with the National, and the PR guy that my band was working with at the time had some extra tickets, and I didn't really know a lot about them. I'd seen them at Gabe's Oasis when The Rat was kind of a big tune, and it was fun. But yeah, seeing them tour, they were touring behind an album called Lisbon, which I think is their second best record. Their first best record being is it You and I or Me and You?
You and I sounds right to me.
Both of those are, I think, I would slot those above Heaven, which is also a really cool tune, really cool album. But yeah, just to see a band that knows way more about music and is, has
You and Me.
You and Me, yeah. Which I think in terms of summer albums, I think the first line on that album is "There's still sand in my suitcase," which is, wow, that's cool. But yeah, a band that knows all about the faces, knows all about all the cool 60s music, and is not referencing it, but has just like, taken all of it in and kind of exudes it like effortlessly without, having to quote anybody. Yeah, I love the Walkmen, love Hamilton Lighthouser being the first post-COVID concert tickets I have purchased.
Nice. Yeah, and I got to see the Walkmen live when they were playing the Hideout Festival in Chicago one year, and they were great. But the set list wasn't my favorite. Like they didn't play. They really didn't play any of my favorite tunes by them. It was still good nonetheless. But it being a short set, they didn't even get to a lot of their best stuff, I thought.
Yeah, I'd say if I had any band that I really like that's broken up, that has pretty good odds of getting back together, I'd say it's the Walkmen. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Watch this space. Okay, so following that up with more loud guitars, Bob Mould again with in his Sugar Days with Your Favorite Thing, a song that I remember, coming out in the summer. It was the lead single off of File Under Easy Listening, and it was a great summer song. Not a big radio hit or anything like that. In an alternate reality, though, it is like the perfect sort of jamming in your car, listening to the radio.
Yeah, man. Where's all your Matthew Sweet tunes? I'm not seeing
It's
any.
true. You know,
Yeah.
I could have literally done hundreds of songs on this list. Yeah, I mean Matthew Sweet. There's plenty of that sort of stuff that could have been a lot of loud guitar though, and pop hooks. And with that in mind, I guess less guitar here, but still that's kind of present. Garbage from Beautiful Garbage, Breaking Up the Girl. Um, has the great the vocal hooks, just that sort of, I don't know, that brainless. I say brainless in a positive way because it's just like those hooks where you're singing, but they're not even lyrics,
Yeah, yeah.
but that provides the hooks. And yeah, no, I mean, I could have done a 500 song playlist here easily.
Yeah, bonus track. Okay. Uh, let's see. I've got some Donovan up next. He's my guy. I've been lobbying for a Donovan show for a long time. We'll get around to it someday, I'm sure. But I think a lot of people kind of know this guy as like the Mellow Yellow guy, or
Sunshine Superman.
Sunshine's like a lot of the tunes that I think are really cool. But I first really got into his like very acoustic, finger picked songs. And Do You Hear Me Now is a really good one from Fairy Tale, which is kind of his first major collection. But yeah, Donovan, all day, any day. If you're listening, Donovan, I love you.
Yeah, and I like Donovan too, but the Donovan songs I like always seem to be the big ones, like your Hurdy-Gurdy Man and your, I guess like Jersey Thursday isn't one of his really well-known songs. But
Yeah,
I like
it's a
that
bit
one
of a deep cut, but
a little deeper.
yeah, I'm the guy that gets Donovan live bootlegs in the mail from my buddy Bob. So and it definitely made. I don't know if I made anyone do anything, but definitely over coffee. Probably 7:00, 7:30 in the morning. Had to put his new single, which is a really creepy single called "I Am the Shaman," on the stereo. That was a good morning.
One thing that I don't think I used the song, but we did do an at the movies show one time where we did like memorable soundtrack moments.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Donovan definitely has an all timer there in Goodfellas with Atlantis. When they basically murder Billy Bats, that scene to Atlantis is very memorable.
Yeah, and I think Atlantis is a tune that I come back to a lot, living in the Bay Area. That line in Tales of the City that the people of San Francisco are reincarnated Atlanteans, and about the do you know what was burning in the or do you know what loomed over the island of Atlantis? It was a giant pyramid with a bonfire at the very top, like the Transamerica building. So always think of that when I hear that tune. And yeah, Donovan's on the stereo a lot. I recommend it.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do like a double bill show with Donovan and Paul Weller.
Yeah, I'm sure they hang out too.
Okay, so my next two, I had to have the Beach Boys on here at some point, right?
It's obligatory, yeah.
It's obligatory. I didn't want to go, the obvious way, like you can have your you can have your car song or your surfing song or whatever. Um, I didn't want to go too high or too low, so I didn't want to go, with I don't know. It's the Beach Boys, and it's all great. And I love the Beach Boys. But I didn't want to go with any of the. I don't want to say run of the mill is not the right term. It's
Well, I get what you're saying. I think that a lot of people don't know that for every one song that you know by the Beach Boys, are like whole albums that just get slept on that are really interesting.
Yeah, and one of those albums is Friends, and I went with the title track from that. Again, I didn't want to go too high, too low. Friends is sort of in that middle ground. I could have I could have just gone with like Surfs Up, which is one of my favorites. But I
One of
think
the
a little
all-time great record covers too.
yeah. But that's probably a little too down. Although it is definitely one I'll listen to in the summer. And yesterday, to test out my speaker, until I die, the like the 6 minute, I think 6 minute 18 or something version of that is a really good one to test out your speakers with, and and then God Only Knows also really great to test out the speakers. So jamming on those yesterday, and followed that up with Fleetwood Mac, and I think there are a lot of like you could do a whole Fleetwood Mac, like every Fleetwood Mac song from like the Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks era, I think is kind of a summer song, right? Is there really anything that doesn't work in the summer there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're more of an authority on the Mac than I am, but nothing I could name that would dissuade me from this.
Yeah, and I say yes, but over my head from Fleetwood Mac is my next song.
Huh. Yeah, good one. Uh, well, I'm gonna subject you to, and I don't exactly know my own logic behind why this album, why this song is on this list, but I kind of it just fit. It's a weird puzzle piece, and it's a tune called "The Four Horsemen" by Aphrodite's Child. Uh, I I'm gonna say that's another kind of 1967 uh, album. I think the album is called 666, which is really fun. And I kind of ended up finding this during a deep dive of Vangelis, who I love, a lot. I love that guy. Most people kind of know him for the
Chariots of Fire.
Chariots of Fire, the soundtrack to Blade Runner, things like that. But as a youngster, he was in 60s pop bands, and one of them is Aphrodite's Child, and their best song ever is "The Four Horsemen." They were Greek, as is Vangelis, and I think this song has a lot of charm because you can kind of hear it in the lyric. The third horse was a green. It's like phonetically spelled out English pop choruses, and really charming, really weird, and always a delight, especially if you're having like a fun summer barbecue.
Vangelis at the barbecue.
Yeah. Which is why people don't come to my barbecues. I don't know. Maybe I don't have a yard. Maybe that's part of it. But and then to wrap up my list, those tunes that always end up at the end of the mixtape, and like we've talked about before, my playlist is almost exactly 45 minutes long for that reason. But wanted to put "Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye" by Leonard Cohen on there. a beautiful tune, and another one that, yeah, you hear it, at the gym, right, and at the at the grocery store or whatever. But I I really think that for a lot of people, you get used to, and myself included, you get used to some music kind of being wallpaper, and to sit down with your best headphones and to intentionally listen through a song like "Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye" by Leonard Cohen. Uh, it's just so revelatory to hear what's going on in that song, both lyrically and in the totally awesome uh, production of this record, where there are a lot of Middle Eastern instrumentation, and also really great female backing vocals that come up at weird points where you wouldn't expect them, and it's disarming and uh, just a perfect song. It's really great, and a good way to end one side of this mixtape.
All right. Yeah, and we have to get the TDK 100 for me. Although I'm still pushing it on my side. Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I said, it could have been a few
I used
hundred.
to splurge on the 110s. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do the TDK 110 for this. Um, okay, so my last three. You definitely have to have we kind of hit on the driving songs. You spend a lot of time in your car probably. If you're like me, you spend a lot of time driving in the summertime. Um, One of my favorites of the past 10 years to listen to while driving is the album Atlas by Real Estate, like pretty much end to end. Is just you can just put that, like I don't have it on CD, but if I did have it on CD, I would just leave that in the car because it's just great for that. And I think especially in more toward the twilight of the day, it's just really great. Really fits that so perfectly. Like few albums, I think hit that in the way that Atlas does. And like I said, there's a number of songs from this album that could have worked really well. I really like Crime. It's hard to find a standout. They're all really good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I went with Crime. I think that's my kind of my favorite. But it's hard to say. And then going back to like the kind of the like the hooks, the do hooks sort of thing. I go with "Do You" by Spoon from "They Want My Soul." Just has that great sort of do 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 do, just that great sort of thing. It's just perfect in the summertime. Um, and And then going back to the Southern California thing by way of Florida, I guess. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I think you have to have some Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers in on a
Especially if you
summer
had the Mac.
playlist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went with "Here Comes My Girl." Even the Losers, strong contender for this, but there's just a number of Tom Petty and the Heartbreaker songs that I think are great in the summertime. But "Here Comes My Girl" from Damn the Torpedoes. So I guess if you're, I don't have a narrative arc to this list, but I guess if you wanted to enforce one, maybe the end of my playlist is when you meet the right someone. So
I love that interpretation. It's so optimistic and and yeah, I mean that one of the many things I like about you as a person, you're a very optimistic person, and yeah, that's that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Flick.
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, what better time of the year to meet the right someone than the summer?
You just need to put on this playlist on your giant new speaker and like crank it up,
Yeah.
and it'll happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those are just a handful, I think, of my summer jams.
I loved it. Yeah, and yeah, thank you for that idea. And it's been so much fun to be, really think about. For me, me and Bob Dylan, we're kind of enemies of nostalgia, but it's hard not to be nostalgic when putting together like the really formative tunes that I would think of as summer jams. I left a lot off, like self-titled Frank Black, I think, is one that I left off. Any tune
Yeah.
from that, but
Teenager of the Year too.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really fun exercise to kind of delve into my brain and kind of wrestle with my complicated feelings about being nostalgic about growing up in Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, I could have got really nostalgic and put like Summer of '69 on my list too. So
There are no rules. It's a safe state. It's okay.
but I don't. If I'm going to leave off as many songs as I'm going, I think Bryan Adams is going to get left off. If I'm leaving off anything, so
Fair enough.
but I think it's only nostalgia if it has no relevance to the current day. So I think all the songs on my list are still relevant to me now.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to make. And yeah, the big wrestling match is, am I being nostalgic or am I having like a fond remembrance, But remember, kids, nostalgia is a disease.
But yeah, I think though there is a difference between nostalgia and like nostalgia is when you're just living in the past, but like you shouldn't just like every life experience and everything you enjoyed isn't meant to be ephemeral either. It isn't just meant to be thrown aside.
I think that's a great point. And something that I really wrestle with is, you can have too much Excelsior, in your life,
right?
In your lifestyle. Yeah. So yeah, good reminder.
All right. Well, so that was our summer episode. And being how it is the summer, we're getting close to the midway point of the year. So that means that next week we will be talking about what our favorite albums of this year. So very non-nostalgic, just pretty much the opposite. It's just all about from January to now.
That's right. Always moving forward.
So yeah, forever forward, as they say in Madison, Wisconsin. And we will be talking about our favorite albums, as well as our favorite songs, I suppose, of the 2021 year.
Okay, great. Well, like we mentioned at the top of the show, you can find these playlists through the LOTD pod, available to you on Spotify. And they're really tasty jams, and I think you'll love them as much as we do. And Flick, Sean, it's always a pleasure to hang out and talk music with you. And looking forward to rounding up my favorite records of this year for next week's show.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Okay, don't ever change.
You either.